This episode is brought to you by Sortly. If you're growing your interior design business, then you know tracking inventory across projects, warehouses, and team members can slow you down. That's where Sortly comes in.
Sortly helps you manage furniture, decor, and materials effortlessly from any device, anywhere. Simplify your installs with barcode scanning and real-time updates, making it easy to export details for client proposals.
Sortly is the mobile inventory solution that your team will actually use, so you can stop losing time and money on messy spreadsheets and outdated systems.
Hot Young Designers Club listeners get 50% off their first year, plus a free 14-day trial. Sign up today at sortly.com/HYDC.
That's sortly.com/HYDC.
Hey.
We have some good stuff coming the way.
Yeah, she's a big fish. We've been trying to get Renee. I mean, we haven't actually tried, but we've been wanting to get Renee on the show for a long time, and we did it.
And it's funny because we're kind of all in various orbits and like having 6 degrees of separation to one another. And so then it's sort of like the universe slowly draws us together to people in our industry that we want to talk to or that we're curious about. And then it just sort of like, it doesn't just happen, but we like...
Well, the timing had to be right. Like,
yeah.
And we talk about it in the episode, so you'll hear. But like, I met Renee in person and was just like, I've heard about her so much that I was like, kind of already felt like I knew the story. But then when I met her, I was like, oh, hat blown off. Like, yeah, this is a must.
Yeah, hotties, you're gonna love this episode with Renee. She has a lot of things to help with your branding, your messaging, some thoughts on how to do that genuinely. And so we'll let you get to that. And we also want to guide you to the Hot Young Designers Club blog.
Yeah, we've been working on it a lot and trying to get at least like a couple posts up every month. You and I take turns. I don't know if we've ever actually explicitly said this, but every month we have our newsletter where we recap the previous month. And you and I write like a little kind of personal essay, I guess, is how we think of it.
Yeah.
And we take turns every month writing it. So that's been a fun push. Like, it kind of forces me to do some writing and thinking.
And yeah, and like trying to I think something that we're both trying to do a lot when we're doing this is we're trying to bring some like very helpful tidbits and nuggets from what's happening like in real time with our lives and businesses. But there's usually some like overall arching themes from the past month that we're seeing or stuff that's been challenging for us. And so we don't always show up with the answer, but sometimes we're just talking about the challenges we're facing in running our businesses. And I don't think there's a lot of places for designers that do discuss that in that way. It's often can come across weird in like a Facebook group or something. So the blog has been really a good place to hear from designers of saying, I'm going through that too, or that happened to me.
Yeah, it's really important for us to let you guys know, like, we're in it too. Like, I mean, I think it's clear we don't have all the answers. We have some thoughts, but yeah, we're in it too. Every month we're dealing with the different stuff or things we're seeing in the industry zeitgeist. My last blog post was inspired by our friend Megan Blau and her TikTok. Like, she got this like a super innocent TikTok based on a meme that she had. It's really terrible. We all know commenters are terrible, but I don't think people realize how
TikTok
mean people are. But to disabled people in general, like,
oh yes,
people say the most unhinged stuff to people's faces. Like my good friend Alicia, who I kind of mentioned, like some of the stories she's told me of things that people have said to her, it's so dehumanizing and insane. But that was kind of like the takeoff where I started with that. But just, I don't know, reminding all of us like our role in accessible homes and future-proofing things. So,
and in addition to like more current topics for stuff like that are coming up kind of like as they're happening, we still have tons of designer features on the blog, and we're sharing your projects that you submit to us. And so if you've been wanting to get some visibility on your projects and get them out there and get them seen, you can submit them to us. We have links in our bio to submit, but also at the bottom of every designer feature is a link to our form where you can submit your own project.
Yeah. And like, we really want to get as much of you guys published in some way as possible. So yeah, please.
Yeah.
We love seeing it too.
Holla at your hotties. That's a thing.
And then,
I'm going to make it a thing.
Hashtag holla at your hotties. And then it's kind of getting to that time where if you're thinking about Fall High Point, you better be thinking about Fall High Point. Get it scheduled if you're going. We are definitely going. We don't have like specific announcements yet, but we're pretty podcast focused with this trip.
Yeah,
I think more than we have before.
Yeah, we're still going to have time to wander showrooms. You guys will find us walking around doing some showrooms some days, but we're really trying to make sure we put together some stuff like in the past we've had our tours or panels. There's maybe going to be a few other places that we'll be able to hang out and catch up with all of you.
Things are kind of like in application process right now, so we're still kind of determining what our final schedule is going to be, but there will definitely be places for us to connect. So please come.
Yes.
Is that it?
I think that's it. Should we roll to Renee?
Yeah, should we let them listen?
Yeah, let's do it. Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
I'm Rebecca Plum, your big sister.
And I'm Shaun Surha, your GBF.
We're not that hot or that young,
but we believe it's a state of mind that helps us build adaptable and profitable businesses.
We rely on the support of our design besties to get through each day.
So let's explore the emotional, practical, and humorous sides of being interior designers.
Welcome to the club. Hey, Shaun.
What's up, Rebecca?
Today we have Renee Bush from Tandem, who we're so excited to talk to today. Hi, Renee.
Hi, I'm so excited to chat with you guys.
Welcome.
Thanks.
I think you've independently talked with each of us separately.
Yeah.
And, like before.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both great conversations. So I'm excited for today.
Yeah. So you and I met and got to spend a little more time together at Haven recently, and yeah, blew my mind. Like, I've talked about it a lot. Like, we'll probably talk about it more today.
It was so funny because I walked up and I was like, I know you. I know you. And you were like, no, I don't think so. And I was like, yes, I do.
You're like, don't gaslight
Yeah,
me.
don't be humble. Tell me who you are.
Well, it was, sometimes out of context. And I don't know how people know me sometimes.
We all know you.
My little shy girl comes out, I guess.
Yeah. Afterwards, I was like, I knew you.
I knew better.
When she speaks.
Yeah.
So I guess I feel like we have so much we can talk about today, and I'd love to get into just your backstory because you have like kind of a interesting route to how you've gotten to this niche with interior designers, because you're not an interior designer.
I'm not an interior designer. Yeah, exactly. And I've never been an interior designer and actually don't really do any consulting or anything on the design part because so often I feel like, a lot of times the designers, they know that part. What they don't or what they need help with is the other side of the business, So yeah, I got into working with interior designers specifically because I had worked in the design industry, and I'll say like the design industry as a whole, working primarily in a graphic design studio, doing a lot of production, project management, studio operations, brand strategy. And then I did that for a few years, worked in and out of a couple corporate marketing team, things like that. And then from there, I got a job in-house at Studio McGee, so an interior design studio. And so
you may have heard of it.
You may have heard, yeah. Pretty incredible first opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But it was such an amazing place to learn a lot. I mean, they were very much still like startup mentality at the time. And so I got to learn so much about the inner workings of the industry, how teams work. It was nice to work with a bigger team. And then after that, I started working with people consulting kind of on a freelance basis, and that grew into what Tandem is now.
Yeah, so working with Studio McGee at that time, where were they and like kind of what was your role there? Because
Yeah.
they've obviously expanded tremendously and had a lot of changes to the business.
So I started, I think I was like the 38th or 40th employee at the time. So the team was really big when you think about it from a typical interior design studio,
Yeah.
but at the same time, they were building out a lot of their e-commerce. So they had like a full accounting team, marketing team, a customer experience team. They were just starting to build out like warehouse type personnel. So it was very much like right in their like massive, what I would say is like the beginning of their massive growth period.
Mm-hmm.
And there was about, I'm trying to remember exactly the number, maybe like 10 designers on the team, one procurement person. And then the person who I was replacing or like the hole I was filling was like the new business project manager kind of role.
Okay.
And so then when I came in, I really helped grow that into, I became like director of design operations. And so, it was kind of, I worked there for a few years and it was a lot of what we were, or what I was working on specifically was cleaning up a lot of the processes, managing the team, all the new business, onboarding new clients, figuring out which projects to take on. And then also at the time, Shay had so many amazing opportunities that she was going after. So really
Mhm.
trying to figure out a way to make it where she didn't need to be in every single thing, right? Like, so it was like that transition. I think me being able to come in and help with talking to new clients, deciding which projects to take on, kind of freed her up, and then really helping to support the design team. So they were really leading their project start to finish. So she was still creative directing, but not necessarily needing to like like the difference like when you're having to handhold the client and manage versus the lead designer doing that. So I think it was kind of like that transition.
Okay, I definitely want to come back to that because I think that is such a huge thing that a lot of us struggle with, being
Yes.
the literal face of our business and
Yes. I mean,
starting
myself
out.
too, my business too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and how we can stay the face of our business but still like
Mm-hmm.
have client trust in our team. So
Yeah.
I do want to come back to
Okay.
that. So, okay, so you started Tandem
Mm-hmm.
with all this information and
Mm-hmm.
experience. What were your goals with that, and like I guess what does
Yeah.
Tandem do?
So it's funny because like one of my first clients was actually Light and Dwell. So right after
Oh,
I
yeah.
left, I had made friends with them. Just kind of, I had started a referral program at Studio McGee. We were getting a lot of inquiries, especially with the show and like things like that. And I was like, we should be giving these good leads to somebody. So I started finding some designers
Oh,
I liked and kind of being like, hey, do you, maybe we could work something out where I can pass your name along. And I just think for a client experience, like you never want to be a dead end. Like when you can
Yeah.
say, hey, I can't help you, but this person can, like that's
you want to
still,
still help.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
still a good client experience. So I was kind of trying to figure out something like that. And I had made friends with Molly and Amy. And I went to them and I was like, hey, I want to start consulting. This is kind of what I want to do. I know I want to work with female business owners primarily. I want to work with interior designers. Like I had a really kind of clear vision of what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how I wanted to do it. And so I went to them and I was like, hey, can I just consult with you for free for 6 months? And so that was kind of how that
Huh.
started. And
Score.
I know. Well, it was really great for both of us because then I didn't have the pressure of like needing to have it
Yeah.
all figured out. So it was like very much like I got a lot of
Mhm.
feedback from them and then I was able to help and I did a lot of different things. But I think that's where I really, in that experience, is I came in sort of like, oh, let me help with some of these operations things, or these are the challenges you're dealing with, but all of it came back to like, well, what are your goals? What are you trying
Mhm.
to accomplish here? And then when I started realizing that like the way you run your business is so closely tied to your strategy, your brand strategy, your,
Mhm.
the type of team you want to have, like whether you want to be the business owner that goes on vacation all the time, or you want to be in charge of every single thing, whether, some designers want to be more the business owner that's checking in on projects, and others want to be the principal designer that's leading everything. And I had to ask so many of those questions to figure out how best to even make recommendations. And then that's where I really found out that part, the like helping people figure out what they want to be, how they want to be, why they want to be that way, that was really what kind of excited me. So I started doing that more and more for people.
And now what does Tandem look like?
We've grown, we've shrunk, we've been a lot of different things. I think we offer a lot of different services. I usually tell people we are a consultancy and we help designers take their business to the next level. So it's really about helping them elevate. And we do that through business and brand strategy and then branding as well as like website design. So it's like, it's kind of a lot of different things, but they all go together, right? When you up level your brand strategy or your business strategy, but then like your website, your branding, your messaging, those things are not aligned, you're not going to
Right.
get nearly as good of results. And so I was like, I feel like I was doing so much work with clients, helping them figure out the strategy, and then they'd go somewhere else to like get the branding or get the stuff. And then, sometimes it wasn't as cohesive.
What you planned.
Yeah. And so it was really nice to be able to like work with the designer directly and say, I know the business side of things. Like it's not just about how it looks. We need it to function really well. And I think that's where I think interior designers get that so intuitively. Like aesthetics and function are
Yeah.
both so valuable in the way that a lot of my clients think. And I think as a design studio and as a consultancy, we kind of bring both sides of that, which I think works really well for the interior design client.
Yeah.
A lot of this might be very foreign or maybe
Hmm.
too big picture for a lot of designers. Like, how do you see that playing out when you're talking with
Yeah.
different business owners?
I would say whenever I'm talking to someone that's coming to me, like what I consider a green flag phrase, like, when you're talking to on a discovery call and someone says something, you're like, oh, this is my client. When they come to me and they say, I know what I want. I know what I want my business to be, but I don't know how to get there. Or if they're like, I'm feeling stuck. I feel stuck.
Yeah.
I don't know how to move forward. I don't really know. That happens in for different reasons. Sometimes people are new and they're figuring it out. Other times, maybe I find this a lot with people who have accomplished all the goals they set out to. It's almost like they built this train track and then they hit the end of the train track and they're like, I don't know where to go from here. I've already done so much more than I ever thought I could.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling to see like the new vision, the like next level, right?
Because they never dreamed that
They
big.
never dreamed that big. And it's so
Yeah.
hard, I think, when you're in your business and you're doing all the day to day, and we have so much we have to do as business owners to take the time to really sit down and like dream the next dream or come up with the next level. Or maybe you can even picture it, but it feels like it's like across the Grand Canyon. You're like, how am I going to get there?
This is funny. We just interviewed Danielle Triprott, who I know you
Oh,
work
yeah, I
with.
love her. Mhm.
I think her episode comes out right before this one will. And I asked her that question and she's like, I need to book another session with Renee.
Yes. I think
So
that's exactly
totally true.
what is like when you're saying, okay, how do we make this a little bit more tangible for people? That's usually what I'm looking for. And I think that's why strategy can be so elusive in a way, vague, because I think that the job of strategy is to take the intangible and make it tangible. And I think that this stuff is so gray and it's not black and white. And my job is to help take that gray area, take the intangible, make it more black and white, make it more tangible so that people have something to grab onto and move forward with. So I can give examples, but
yeah, can you define brand strategy? Because I have a marketing background, so
Yes.
it makes sense to me. I love all this, but I think a lot of people don't.
Yeah, and I think that so many people define it in different ways. The way I like to think about it is your brand strategy or your positioning, if you will, is understanding who you are, like at your core, what are your values, what is your mission, what is the purpose of your business, what do you offer people, what do you sell? So like what do you do and who are you? And then also how do you work? Like what is your tone? What is your customer experience like? What is how do you do business? And then also like, why are you doing that? What are you passionate about? What's your purpose? And all of these things are defined in different ways, but they come together to create the North Star. A lot of people will say the North Star for how you do business. So for example, you think about a designer like Amber Interiors that's like very elevated, but also still very approachable. She's very funny. She makes a lot of jokes. She's very like casual.
She's wearing Chuck Taylors.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be a very different vibe from even like Shay McGee, who's going to be a little bit more polished, a little bit more refined. And like, just like the way they talk to their audiences are going to be so different, even if they're at a similar like level. And then you have maybe a smaller designer who maybe is maybe working with more of your like normal, typical families, dual income families that are super busy and they're doing a lot of smaller renovation projects. Okay, maybe that's the size and scale of project that you're trying to go after. But
Yeah.
is your tone going to be more lighthearted and funny? Are you going to be a little bit more philosophical and poetic in the way that you talk? Is it and aspirational? Or is it going to be more relatable and you're showing your kids and how you're running errands too? Or I think so many of us don't, it's like we don't know how to put ourselves out in the world, right? Because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
don't, and I think that is where a lot of my clients get stuck is like,
Yep.
they don't know how to
Or-
price themselves. They
Well,
don't
they
know.
don't know how the world already sees them,
Yes.
which is like
True.
one of the
perception.
biggest nuggets that you
Yes.
should be like growing if
Yes.
it's
Yes, I want to
valuable.
hold up
Yeah.
a mirror and say, this is what I'm seeing, you know?
Yeah.
And when I think people can see themselves, then they can operate more intentionally, which I would say most of my clients, that's their goal. They want to be authentic, they want to be intentional, they want to be honest, you know? And I
It's
think
easier. Like
when
you're
you
not
can
creating some
see-
persona.
Yeah,
like,
if you-
exactly.
I
Yeah.
think that's hard for a lot of people. A lot of designers we talk to are like struggling with wanting to keep some of their like privacy and sense of self, and like
Yes.
they're kind of protecting their families, and like
Yeah.
they don't want their whole world lived out online. And I sometimes feel like it's at odds with the way that most consumers are going to need to discover and feel
Interesting.
confident with a
Mhm.
designer. And I don't, it's really hard for me to find examples of designers who are maybe early in their career who, if they're not just relying on complete word of mouth, if they're trying to get bigger projects and bigger clients and more inquiries, but yet they're not showing up anywhere, I get kind of confused. I just
Yeah.
get confused because to me, I see it and I'm like, what are you doing if you
How are you earning
say you don't
trust?
want to be in front
Yeah.
of anyone or be seen? Then how do you, like, I get stuck because I'm like, I don't see another solution. Do
Yeah.
you?
So a lot of times, like the three main things is I want to figure out what is this person's business goals, right? What kind of business do they want to run? Do they want a big team, small team, lots of money, medium amounts of money? Do they want to be super involved, not as involved? Like, you know, those are just a few things, but I want to know what kind of business they want to run. Then I would dig really deep into the ideal client. This is like something I'm very passionate about. I want to know, who are we trying to appeal to? Who are we speaking to? And I will tell you that I've done this exercise with hundreds, literally hundreds of designers. And without fail, everyone says the exact same thing, which is, I want a client who trusts me and has a good budget. And it's like, I want to dig really deep. I want to be like, are they drinking spicy margaritas, or are they, you know, like wine collectors? Are they someone who they want their home to look like all their neighbors, or they want something they've never seen? Do they have a French bulldog or an Italian greyhound? Are they driving a Bronco or like an Audi? Like, what, all of these little things are so different, and the things people buy and the way they live tells us a lot about them. And so when we understand like who that ideal client is and go really, really deep on that, that's what answers. So this strategy is what answers those questions that you're asking, Shaun. So when you
That-
say, how do I show up? I'm like, well, who am I as a business owner, and who am I talking to? And the middle of that, the Venn diagram, that's our target. And so if I'm talking to moms, if my ideal client is a mom, well, maybe it does make sense for me to showcase a little bit of how I relate to them as a mom on Instagram. But if that's not my ideal client, then I don't need to go there. It
They're
doesn't.
going to think you're a mess and can't handle
Exactly.
it. Like,
Right. And so it's like, I'm asking like, well, what is your ideal client? What do they prioritize? You know, are they someone who's like, I want this done efficiently. I don't want to deal with all the details. I want you to handle everything. I care about streamlined process. I really don't care what it costs, but I just don't want to deal with everything. Or is this someone who's like, I want collaboration and I want to pass ideas back and forth, and I want you to help me come up with the best way to spend my budget. I want you to be this like empathetic guide, right? Like every one of my clients has a completely different skill set that attracts a different type of client. And so when we understand what it is about us as a designer or a business owner, you know, and we know what our strengths are, and then we can project that out. I'm always thinking, what business do we want to build? Who are we speaking to? What are our strengths and our differentiators, the things that make us unique? And then how do we market ourselves to attract people based on what we're already good at? And then how do we prove it? So proof comes in the testimonials, the social media posts, our branding, the press that we get. We want to then prove that point. So like, if my whole shtick, if my whole thing is that I'm calm and I'm measured and I'm process oriented and my designs are not like, they're timeless, like maybe they're not super experimental, maybe they're a little more vanilla, but like, you're going to get something that is great for a family, that's elevated, that's beautiful, that's not making you too uncomfortable. All of that feels
Your neighbors are going to love it.
Your neighbors are
like,
going to love it. It's going to be great for dinner parties.
mhm.
That's really aligned. It makes sense. And then when you put that out and say, every one of your testimonials is like, this process was so dialed. I loved everything I saw. It's been 10 years and I still love my kitchen. That's going to attract someone who wants that. And that's going to make everything else in your business smoother. Then we hire a team that also wants to do that kind of work, that is excited by that vision and that plan and that thing. And now the more we can, like all these elements of the business, the more we can align each of them, the more we get exponential results that are going to get you where you want to go, basically enjoying what you do and feeling inspired and making money like as fast as possible, right? Like we want everything, we want to swim with the current and not against it.
Yes. I think that's something like you really helped me with when we met. I was in this kind of mental turmoil where I knew all these things, but I think it was the mirror really of like not being able to see myself and how that would apply to a client. Like I see myself as different than what I think like wealthy clients who hire interior designers might look like, and that's not true. Like that was a story I was telling myself. I just have to find the right ones.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you told me a little bit, you were saying that like every single one of your clients is quite different. And you were kind of like, saying how you were struggling to find a through line. But then what we talked about was like, maybe that's the through line. Like maybe the fact that each one of your clients wants to be so unique and wants to be so different and is like, has a little bit of a rebellious streak. Like that is what actually ties them all together. And when you have that clarity, it starts to be like, oh, I know how I'm talking to that person now.
And ties me to them because that's also me.
That's
like
so you.
I'm describing myself. Like I am that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would kind of was like I was close. Like Shaun and I have been talking about it a lot too before that. And I was just kind of like I had this like the little blowing up emoji over my head.
Yeah.
And I like went home that weekend. And I took all the information, like, because Haven, like, you guys
so
provide a
much
lot of
information.
amazing materials, and like I had PDFs, and you have worksheets that help people through it. I downloaded it all, like me and ChatGPT, like got into it, and
as one does.
now the ideal client, that was my sticking piece that I worked so hard that weekend to like really make them feel like somebody that I wanted to know and were real, and oh my God, I'm like, it was so fun. And I got like a visual on them, like their little portraits in my brand strategy deck now.
Yeah.
Sam and Celeste, like,
love
I know
it.
what they do.
Yes.
They swear, they have kids, they like
they
the
love
family life,
whiskey.
But
they're gonna,
yeah,
I totally
they love
get it.
to travel with their kids and themselves. Like they're still independent minded. I don't know.
But once you describe that, I feel like
yeah.
when your team understands that and they know who they're talking to and they know that it's okay to like swear in a presentation as long as it's like still cool and not over, too much. But like when everyone understands that, it's going to make your job so much easier. You can hand it to a social media person. It's like we're getting everyone on the same page as to like what our goal is, who we're talking to. And then that's why I think everything should be so custom. Like I'm very one-on-one, I'm very custom, and I have more thoughts on that. But like, I just think that the whole thing about, I mean, I could go on, but life and the world, like people's uniqueness is what makes us human, is what's so valuable. And so, yeah, I just think that when we can lean into those unique things and like, that is what's going to ultimately make your business successful. Right. And I think it's scary.
Yeah. But it makes everything easier because once you have that filter that you're describing, when you build this brand strategy out, then you know who you're talking to. Like the thing, like if you have an idea or see a meme on Instagram, you're like, actually that doesn't fit. Like I don't
Totally.
need to go down that road. I
Yeah.
don't need to do holy airball. Like it's not my thing.
And we let
Like
Sam and Celeste, but we let them help us make that decision. And even when
yes.
you think about like, oh, should I be posting links for someone to buy affiliate marketing things? It's like, well, I know exactly what they would buy. And I think being able to show like some really cool like cocktail ideas or, things like that where it starts to feel really appropriate for the kind of person that you're talking to, that's what's going to make it feel authentic. And ultimately, then the people attracted to you are going to be like, oh, yeah, I love Rebecca's ideas. I want to buy more of this stuff because I love everything she says.
Yes. Please. More of that.
Buy more things.
So back to like Shaun's question, it kind of made me think about clarity. Like, do you think people can be the face of their business without showing their face, like in marketing?
I do. I think so. I have several clients that are like this. I think you just want to, let's use Instagram specifically. I think that's a lot of where people show up.
Yeah.
First off, I like to try to help people understand what is the product that you're selling. So I typically call this their signature. I find that most designers either have a signature aesthetic or a signature process or a signature philosophy or a signature approach. Right? So even if your aesthetic is not always the same, what is the common thread and what can we distill it down to? So it's like, hey, when you purchase from me, you are always going to get this kind of guaranteed result. And I think a lot of designers struggle with that when they have like an aesthetic that's like really, really different. But make your approach the thing where it's like, we always approach it this way, or we always believe in such, XYZ. Doing that. And then I think let's say you're a designer who gets most of your work from referrals, right? And you have maybe not a signature aesthetic, but you have a very signature process and you are very dialed and you're mostly getting work from like partner referrals and past client referrals. In that case, I'm going to treat Instagram a lot more like a mini portfolio. It's going to be like, I'm thinking about my ideal client and I'm setting my Instagram up to be like, when I get that referral and they come check me out on Instagram, are they seeing what they need to see to know that I'm the right option to reach out to? Because we don't even know the people that were referred to us and landed on our Instagram and said, nah, this is not for me. Right. And so a lot of times
we never even see them.
We never hear of them. We don't even know. We don't know those opportunities we missed out on. And I think that is something I run into with clients a lot is that most of the time, what they're doing is working to some extent. Most people come to me with things working. It's just not working how they want. And if we want different results, we need to do something different. So let's say you're mostly getting referrals and you're mostly getting referrals for small projects. But then when an outside source comes and looks at your stuff, when I come in and I say, based on your branding, based on what I'm seeing on Instagram, based on what I'm seeing on your website, you look like the kind of designer that does small projects. Your projects are labeled such and such renovation. A lot of your projects are just a kitchen. The photography quality is maybe a little bit lower, right? Like maybe your photographer is a lifestyle photographer and not a professional interiors photographer. Maybe you're not spending a lot of money on styling and you're just kind of documenting the project as is and moving on and you're not paying a lot of money for it. Maybe your branding is 10 years old and a little outdated and all of your pictures on Instagram are like wonky and crooked and half of them are your kid at a recital. Like
exactly.
I'm going to assume that you're cheap and that you do small projects. And if I got referred to you and I come look you up and I have that type of project, I'm going to go, perfect. She's probably in my budget. Maybe this is going to be a good fit. But if I'm coming to you and I have a 10,000 square foot new build and I see all of that, even if you're fully capable and even if you've done that before, I might question your abilities. So I always kind of tell people that the bait you use determines the fish you catch. You need to know what kind of fish you're trying to catch. And so then all marketing is smoke and mirrors. Everybody is smoke and mirrors. I've talked to so many very well-known famous designers that have books and TV shows and you name it. And they're all back here going, oh, you really think I'm that big? You really? And everyone is doing that. I promise. I've talked to them all. And, it's all about knowing the perception you want to create, putting that out there. And I think step 1 is knowing what you want it to be. Step 2 is trial and error, figuring out how to project that image. And then step 3 would be proving it, right? Press proves it, podcasts prove it, talking about it, writing articles about it, blog posts, Instagram posts. Like when you say, I'm really good at XYZ, and then you just go and have everyone say that you're good at XYZ because you are, and then you talk about it constantly, people believe you.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the piece I feel like I haven't really connected before, because we debate a lot about, is PR worth it? Like, what's the point of press if I'm not going to get direct clients from it?
Because you don't get direct clients from it.
Right.
It's
But it
proving,
is
it's a
to
proof.
validate.
It's social proof. And you have to think about, my ideal client is going to think, oh, she was in Goop. Cool. Or, oh, she was in the Wall Street Journal. Cool. Or it's going to be like, oh, I'm reading all these testimonials and reviews. Or, oh, voted best for House Pro, whatever, you know. Each of your ideal clients is going to value different press. And when you work with a PR agent, when you can go to them and say, this is the type of person I'm trying to attract, they can help you determine what outlets you need to be featured in to convince that person that you're the right fit. Right. So all of this just goes together. And that's why I think it's so important to understand what you're trying to accomplish, who you are, why you are, what you do, all of that. So then we can take every little piece of the business and connect it to that. And that's where we get like small changes make big impact. That's where we get like work smarter, not harder. Like I don't want to work 50 hours a week. I want to make really good money. And I also want to sit in my hammock and read Throne of Glass. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to be nonstop working all the time, but I want to be successful. And I think that's what I want to help my clients do is like, how can we be more intentional and more strategic so we can get more results and more impact from smaller decisions, smaller tweaks, and working less
Efforts.
hard. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, designers. In our jobs, we wear a lot of hats, but there is a big difference between having ideas and then the reality of actually putting these ideas into practice.
Yeah, totally. That's why when we developed the tools that worked for our businesses, we wanted to share them with other designers so they could grow too.
And since we're all busy, we made sure everything was ready to use to save you time.
And our templates include expertly crafted copy that can get you started when you're trying to write the right words for all your clients.
Yeah, so we didn't write your bio because we can't, but things that are process oriented, we have all that written out for you.
Right. And we wanted to keep everything in a price point that's very accessible to designers of all levels because we really believe that everybody should be able to afford to streamline their business and make it better.
So if you're a first-time visitor, you get 10% off on our shop at shop.hotyoungdesignersclub.com.
So something we've been talking about, Shaun and I, a lot too, is if you want to have larger income, work less, like, do you believe that designers need to be going up market and not doing
No,
little projects? Okay.
I mean, yes and no. I think that there's pros and cons, right? But like, I have a client I worked with probably about a year ago, and one of the big, I guess, like light bulbs for her working together, she is not every designer has gone to school, right? We know this. Not every designer is technically really has even all the technical skills. Like there's a lot of different designers out there and they all have different backgrounds and experience. She was a designer that had gone to school, had worked at other firms, had great technical experience. You know, she was basically an architectural interior designer. But she found that the projects that she was most passionate about and made her the most money was furnishing projects. And I
Okay.
think she felt a lot of guilt about like, I have this great skill set and I'm really talented at this. Am I just a decorator? Am I not good enough if I just focus on furnishing projects? But at the end of the day, by kind of making that switch, and you make the switch in your like head and heart first, then you start putting that message out on Instagram and attracting more of that. Now she's working like 20, 30 hours a week, making bank, like taking home 200K personally because she's selling a ton of furniture. Her clients
Yeah.
are pretty easygoing. The timelines are like 6 months. So she's not working with them for 4 years and getting sick of them. Like it works for her. So I
Yeah.
think that like I'm a big believer in if you want lots of small things, you can be a millionaire. If you want very like 3 to 4 really high level projects a year, you can be a millionaire. Like I think you can be successful no matter what, as long as you do your thing smart and clear. And,
Yeah.
you know, like a smaller, if you're working on smaller projects, let's make sure your scope is dialed. You need to function more like Frontier Airlines and not Delta. Stop trying to give everybody the world and then some if you're charging less and you're doing lots of different things. Like, Let's set the expectation with the pricing and with what they get. And the more processed it is, the more you're going to be able to handle a difficult client. They're not going to like run you all over the place when you're so dialed in your process. So like, it's just the way I would run that business is slightly different than I have 3 projects. You're my top priority of a client. Everything I do is flexible and manual and custom. And, you know, if you say jump, I say how high because you're paying me $500,000 this year. You know, that's just so different of a business.
Yeah.
And you have like a relationship.
And those people have more expensive lawyers. And the other
you
people
have to know you can handle that.
Yes.
Like, you have to have the internal like heart and fortitude to know I can stand with those people who have those challenging personalities and are going to push the limit.
Yes.
And I also understand how to like make calculated risks. And it's hard when you're starting from the small side to imagine getting there. But there are going to be like some designers should look at your like, let me regulate my nervous system and really ask.
Yes,
is
I'm in
that
therapy. We
who-
all need
like,
it.
Exactly. Like, is that the client I'm going to enjoy working with? And I have the skills to do that for them. And a lot of designers are going to say, that's not going to be right for me. Like,
I completely agree. And this is just side note, something I have found that's very funny is that a lot of people who invest in consulting, a lot of people who listen to podcasts, these are people who they want to get it right. They are willing to put in the work, to study, to research, to do a good job. They are ambitious, they're careful, they're intentional. These are people who are saying, I really care about what I do. I'm really passionate. I want to deliver an excellent product and I'm going to take the time and energy to learn all I can to do the very best I can. Right. So I think a lot of interior designers in general are this way, a little bit people pleasers because they're in a service-based industry, a little bit ADHD because they love to juggle a million different things and they're really good at big picture, small picture, lots of variety, problem solving. Like it brings a certain type of person, perfectionist, right? We love beautiful things. We want things to be perfect, even imperfectly perfect. Aesthetics are a big part of it, functionality. We like that type of person. I think running a business and like the mindset things can be kind of hard. And I think that like when I hear, like when I'm business consulting, when someone is constantly bringing on a lot of difficult clients or they're complaining about clients a lot, I am like, not everybody has that.
yeah.
It's a you problem because what I find is that, and I've even seen it in myself at times, sometimes the clients on a discovery call that are the most like challenging, they almost like spark something in me to like prove myself. And I tend to catch myself like leaning in to solve the problem, offer a product that I think they're going to love, convince them to go with me, win them over. And I have found that when I feel that spark, I sit back. I don't want that person, right? I want them to lean in and want me. And the more I do that, the more I attract clients who are leaning in and trying to people please me. Now, I'm still going to go above and beyond tenfold to make clients happy because that's my personality. But like, I have noticed that when I have that not enough trigger, that is almost always going to bring me those clients that are going to make my life miserable. So sit
like
back.
You're setting up a dynamic that
Yes.
you probably had in the past that you're like
people who
comfortable
don't take
with,
no
but
for
it's
an
not
answer.
good.
Those are the ones. And I mean, I feel like this was something I learned doing a million discovery calls, even with Studio McGee, because everyone would like not want to take no for an answer. Like, please, please, please work with me. And as someone who wanted to like make it work, you know, at some point I had to start being like, no, like this is not, you know, this is not a good fit. And the same for my own business and being like, the people who are difficult are sometimes the ones we go out of our way for. And I want to try to go out of the way for people who are easy, the people who align, the people who I want to give more to the people who have no revisions. I don't want to give more to the people who say, I'm not happy. This isn't what I wanted. Right. Like, reward what we want to reward.
I know there are hotties listening who are like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to begin. And it's a lot. I do want to like sit with that for a second and they should hear like, this is not I'm going to start my business. And then day one, all of this is going to come to you immediately. You're going to know what you're doing. You're going to have it all realized. It'd be great if you can. But I think what we highlight is that this is a really big iceberg for most designers. It's a lot. It's hard to start when you go from that like I'm beginning, I don't even know what I'm building sometimes and then they realize but it's not working and I think you've highlighted that at some point, the pain of continuing to do it the way that it's not what you want is going to exceed the pain of needing to do all of this work that you're describing to like reanalyze and look at your goals and really, and it's hard. You have to sit with yourself and sit with your goals, maybe talk among a small team that you have and say like, do you guys like this? Is this bad for you? Like, it's hard to open yourself up to all of that. So it's okay to like realize that this is not a easy conversation for you and it's going to take time. And so to navigate it alone is very hard.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think though that when we can ground that back in yourself, that's what I think makes these decisions easier. Instead of trying to like please every client and trying to be what everybody wants, I think that is the problem. And that's what the brand strategy solves is instead of trying to be everything for everyone, which often ends up meaning you don't post on social, you don't do anything, right? We kind of get stuck in our inaction when we're trying
You're
to please
reactive.
everyone. Instead, let's ground ourselves back in ourselves, have that confidence and clarity of knowing who we are and match everything, align our decisions with ourselves and our ideal client. And that's how we can move forward with confidence. And if I was going to say, what's the one thing I see in clients that signifies success? I would say it's confidence. And I think that like most of us started off our businesses naively confident and we were successful and it was like fun and it was exciting and it was like we didn't know what we didn't know and we're like doing all this amazing stuff and then we start to learn a ton more and we start to doubt ourselves and that's a really challenging point in the business. And so the strategy can really help bring that confidence back. And I think Rebecca, like our conversation, it was so fun and interesting for me, like when we were sitting at a bar and just like chatting, but like the fact that you are doing so much so well. And I think that you have or are hitting a point where you're like, okay, I'm ready to take it to the next level. I'm ready to level up. And there's that like, I don't know, I think just like discovering like the fact that there's a new level, new devil, right? Like when as we level up, we have like, there's never a point in your business where you're just like, I've made it. I worked really hard and I'm here and now everything's going to come and I can coast forever. And I've climbed the mountain and now I just get to camp out on the top of the mountain. Instead, it's like we're always evolving and you accomplished, like you built the business and you accomplished it, but now you have like new goals. And so now we need new strategy and things need to evolve. And that's like, I think we need to learn to enjoy that part of it too. That like we don't just get to camp out on the mountain. It doesn't happen that way.
Right. And the confident bit is something I'm very aware of and know that like I'm always just that's where my jealousy flares up when I see people that just seem like obviously it's
None of them are, but
usually
yes.
perception.
Exactly.
But yeah.
All of them are in the background like we've all
just like I wish I just had a little more audacity for certain things. But so like how much like you say you think confidence is really an important piece, but we also know that we're faking it as well. So is it like the feeling of confidence or just like going back? I think our conversation helped me and what I'm working with now is when I start spinning and doubting myself and feeling lack or comparison or whatever, I just have to go back to, okay, I do know I'm good at these two, three pieces and just like go back there. Like that's where you're going from. That's like the grounding bit I think you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And like the other pieces, like maybe I have to hire for or I have to get more experience or education on or whatever.
Like nobody's doing everything perfect. And I think that like your ideal clients have money and they're walking around deciding who to give it to. This is not a question of should they spend it or not spend it. I mean, for most people, they're going to spend it. And I think I tell my clients a lot of times, like, if you're a good, honest person that's doing the best you can and you're going to do right by your client as much as possible, you're doing them a huge favor by convincing them to spend their money with you, right? Because you're saving them from going to someone else that could be a bad option or someone who's maybe not as ethical.
Right.
And so like, we're doing them a favor by letting them spend money with us because we are going to be the best stewards. We're trying to run the best possible business we can. But I think an example of like confidence would be like around pricing. I think that's why talking to other people about your pricing is so important. But like, when I do a meeting with someone and we're just doing a pricing consultation maybe, and we just go through each pieces and we know that like the scope matches the price. We know that like Everything makes sense. It's aligned. We've looked at all the different buckets of pricing, and holistically, we have a pricing model that we feel really confident in. And I've seen so many. So I can say, yes, I feel very confident that for your market, for your experience, for this is going to work. I think that helps people go to the next discovery call and say, even if they're a little in the back of their mind, like Renee said that this is going to be good, and they show up confidently, they're 10 times more likely to have that client go, oh, that makes sense. I trust you and I believe you, just because they're confident. And then once people start saying yes, then they start feeling like, I want to do that for less. Like, I know I'm worth this because they've had people pay it. But I think that confidence in your strategy, sometimes you have to step into the darkness and know that, like, it's going to work out, or believe that it's going to work out. And then when it does, that's when you're like, okay, but you have to kind of feign confidence sometimes right up front to, like,
Yeah, because
have
if
it
you
work.
also are moving markets or
Mhm.
audiences that you're talking to, like
Mm.
it's going to take time to
Takes
get
time.
them to pay attention and see
Right.
it.
Yeah. I had a strategy session just last week where really incredible designer, really talented, and they have an internal marketing team. And one of the things they were saying is, like, they really want to up level their business. They want to attract these higher end clients, like a lot of people say. And so we were talking about the types of content that might resonate with that type of ideal client. And then a little bit later in the conversation, the person who's running marketing said, yeah, but when we do that type of content, it doesn't always land.
Yeah.
People, it doesn't get as many likes, it doesn't get as much engagement. And I'm like, but that's because you've built an audience based on the past, right? So
Yeah.
like, we want to evolve the audience to the newer type of people that we're trying to attract. We need to create content to attract the next level. And if we just keep serving the current people, we're just going to keep getting more of the current stuff. So, like, you have to kind of step out and say, I know who I'm trying to attract. I'm going to create content for my new ideal client that's more aligned with the future of my business. And then everything organically kind of shifts over time. And that's the kind of scary piece, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, so that is another thing that I'm struggling with. And I
Okay.
built, like, I have an amazing audience on Instagram that, like, they know me, they root for me, like, they really do encourage me. And,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to alienate them or talk down to them in any way, but I also am trying to, like, talk to newer people as well.
Mhm.
Do you have any advice on how, and sorry to go back, like, I have changed my services a little bit so that it's either your full service or your consultation only, which, like, kind of that expert kind of
Yeah.
idea, but it's not on the expert. Like, do you have
Yeah.
strategy ideas on that?
Yeah. I would say you want to maintain the same tone of voice, which is just you, right? It's you being
Yeah.
authentic and you being you. So don't, like, put out a lot of content that starts feeling like slow pans over a field while you're, like, reciting philosophical whatever. Like, that's like, even if it's beautiful, it's just not gonna feel like you, right? So we wanna maintain that feeling of you, but I think we wanna up level the photography and showcase your projects at the highest possible level. So really go all in on the styling and the photography, right?
Yeah.
And I would even say, I'm always telling people, do not document the project as it happened. Do whatever you need to do, bring in stuff, work with the right photographer, bring in styling pieces to make the project, document it in a way that is aligned with where you want to go, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of doing that. Your audience is going to be so excited for your success. It's kind of like the band that you've been following forever, and, like, when they start getting popular and you're so stoked for them. Now, if they
Yeah.
create a sellout record, you're not as stoked anymore. But as long as you keep being you and creating your type of things that you love, they're going to just feel, like, validated in their own choice of following you. The more known you get, or the more press you get, or the more bigger projects you get, they're able to say, I knew it. I knew she had something special. I've been here this whole time, and I'm like so excited to see your success.
And I think that's true, and it's happening. I guess I, like, now I'm just second guessing everything I post or, like, hesitate to post
Yeah.
because I don't know. I mean, right now my strategy, tell me if this is right, is anything that's going on the feed is pretty much only talking to my ideal client. The people that have been there, they still, yes, celebrate and are excited for me too, but I'm not trying to attract necessarily more. And then my stories is where I might be more silly and
Hmm.
talk about the book I read or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's great because I
Okay.
think the whole point of Instagram is for people to get to know you, get to like you and trust you, right? And
Mhm.
your ideal clients are going to land there, trust your portfolio first. We want them to see a
Yeah.
really curated portfolio, really beautiful work. Maybe your highlights are kind of talking about like any press or any testimonials or going through your process and kind of maybe a little bit more about you and your background, or you've got pinned posts to the top that show your face and say who you are and what you love and the type of projects, or maybe you have a pinned post that talks about your current projects and it's using stats like 8,000 square foot new build, or and just enough that people could be like, oh dang, I didn't realize she was working on such cool stuff. We want that first impression, and then they follow, and then they get to know you on a deeper level, and that creates that nurturing, the like, oh, not only is she, I'm going to immediately respect her, and my perception right up front is that this is someone who does high quality work. This is someone who knows what they're doing. This is someone who's already doing projects at the level that I want to like bring her in on.
Yeah.
Then, the second layer is the like, and I like her, and I love the way she talks, and I like what she wears, and I love her cool, fun wallpaper choices, and, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But I would say just maybe don't look at any reports for like 3 to 4 months. Like, just don't look at
Yeah.
engagement. Don't worry about it. And just like really focus on like Sam and Celeste. And just like, that's it. Like, what would they like? What are they going to be attracted to? And just really focus on creating content for them.
So is it fine if the feed is like kind of boring? I mean, not boring, but
I don't think your work is boring. I think it might be boring to
just like
you because you've seen it
portfolio.
before.
Not the work,
Yeah.
but like I'm used to telling stories and trying to be funny. I don't know. Like I
Yeah.
just feel like I try to do too much.
Okay, maybe it's more like
And then
do
it
a
becomes
reel.
overwhelming.
Yeah, maybe do a reel like that, but then have the cover photo be like a perfect photo. Right? Like,
Yes.
how's the you
Okay.
way of doing that? Or maybe it's a carousel where you're saying, here's a gorgeous finished photo. And then when you scroll through, you see the behind the scenes, or you see you laughing at the photo shoot, or you see you like, I don't know, or you're telling a story in the caption about the like sweating like crazy while we do this, but so grateful that it looks like whatever, and you're a little bit more honest. But I think that it's really about the like split second perception, because it's like if you get referred a builder, right? Like someone tells you about a builder and you go look them up and they have 10 to 12,000 followers or more, right? And then they have really beautiful photography, and then they've got some highlights where you get to see them, and they talk normal, and they seem like they care about their work, and they just, you get an immediately good first impression. You're going to immediately start to say, oh, they probably do this type of work, and they probably are competitors with these people, and they probably cost around this much. And it's just like all those things are kind of split second perception, and we want to create that in people. And I think a lot of like interior design business owners don't realize how curated that is. They think that it organically happens, and they think that it organically happened for all the people they look up to, and it didn't.
Or that people paid attention to all of your stories for the last 6 months when no, they don't see them. Like they only have 5 seconds to look at your feed. So that stuff does kind of matter. I think that I agree. And that example you gave of like kind of rinky dink stuff on people's feed, right? When you see it, it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm sure
you just
they
put
know
them
what
in a
they're
lower
doing,
level.
but yeah.
Like if someone inquires with me and I go look at stuff and I'm like, oh, and then sometimes I'll do a strategy session with them and be like, holy crap, you are actually amazing. Why have I not seen any of this stuff? And that's where I'm holding up the mirror and saying, I had no idea you did your own technical drawings. I had no idea you're working on projects of this scale. I had no idea that you got billionaire clients, because all I'm seeing is a couple like kind of mediocre progress photos of like without the context. It's just a door. Like, okay. And so I'm like, how can I help them see what do they need to show off their strengths to appeal to their ideal audience?
Yeah. And it really always goes back to that ideal client.
Everything goes back to the ideal client, which is why I do spend a lot of time on it. I would say for a first session, I almost always spend time on, I'm going to always touch on pricing because I want to solve that problem as fast as possible. And then I'm going to spend time on ideal client and on your brand pillars. What's your signature? What's your differentiator? And what's the emotional deliverable? What do we want people to feel when they work with you? And those things are what make you different, what make you unique. That's why someone's going to choose Shaun versus Rebecca, or vice versa.
Right.
Right. Because you guys offer the same thing, but your ideal clientele like doesn't really overlap that much.
No, and
No.
even I have a lot of local designer friends. We're in the same market and we can share everything because
Yeah.
our clients are all super
Yeah.
different. Like once in a
Yeah.
while we'll go up against each other, but it's honestly been
Yeah.
really rare.
And even then, if they choose someone, you're like, oh, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
I'm just like so fascinated by like this. A lot of this is part of the building phase, and admittedly, Rebecca and I both kind of really love these building phases of businesses
Yeah.
until they're tiring. But there's a lot of like invigoration and excitement in
Yeah.
knowing that so many things are possible. So like for me, it's like that really fascinating pairing of this is really hard and will take a lot of introspection and work. And yes, it will be. You will have to be doing more while also running your business, but
Mhm.
the potential and the payoff and the reward and the clarity and hopefully the
Yeah.
better quality of life for yourself or
Awesome.
your employees or your client, whatever you're trying to create is why you want to get to it. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
but you got to go to the gym if you want to be a bodybuilder. Like I
Totally.
don't know how to get you there unless you're going to do it. Like I can't do the push-ups for you, you
Oh,
know?
it's so true.
But I think we're
Yeah.
also told a lot. You need to be better at saying no. You need to learn to do that. But a lot of us, if you don't have that strategy piece, you actually don't even know what you're saying no to.
1,000%. And
Yeah.
sometimes this is where like I had a strategy session the other day where I laid out and I was like, listen, this is a 1-2 punch. Okay. Like your ideal client you're describing to me, I think is kind of phase 2. I think because like this is where the operations piece comes in and it's like, well, what kind of
Yeah.
resources do we have? Like, in the last month, I've had an interior design client who was a single mom based in New Orleans that was the first 1 to 2 years of her business. And then I had another client who's based in Philadelphia who exited a really fancy company, has a ton of money, did an incredible multi-million dollar renovation to their own home,
Mm.
and is already paying for PR. And they're also in 1 to 2 years. They are
Huh.
both going to get wildly different advice and run their
Yeah.
business so differently. And so it's like, it just kind of comes back to that as well, where it's like we're making sure that we understand the operations piece. And like maybe you don't have the resources to say no to everything right now. But what we can do is we can say, this is the goal we're building toward. When you hit XYZ point, that's when
Yeah.
you need to raise your prices. This is what you can say no to. And this is how we can reduce the scope. So that way, I think that your price, no matter what it is, even if it's like, $150 or for like 1 hour or something, which I wouldn't recommend you do. But like, even if it was that, how can you make the scope fit the price where no matter how large or small the price is, it's still profitable, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't ever be, no matter what your business is or how long you've been in business, every single thing you offer should be profitable, right? Those clients get less for less.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit then about what you really offer, like how
Okay.
designers can work with you, because I know a lot of people are like, okay, that all sounds great. Like literally have no idea how to do it though.
Yeah. I do a lot of one-off sessions. So when I first started doing what I do, I actually worked with a couple different business coaches myself. And, I really loved a lot of the experience, but I think sometimes I was like, I don't know if I have time to meet every single week or every other week. Like I just want to be able to like have a meeting with someone and get the clarity I need and then go back and focus on my business. So I
Yeah.
do a lot of like one-off sessions, like a 90-minute session is typically what I start with. And then I also do for some clients, I work with only a few at a time, but I'll do more ongoing monthly consulting, typically a minimum of 4 months, like 4 to 6 months is pretty average. That's going to be like my business really needs help and we're going to go through all these different things. So we're going to be overhauling marketing strategy, looking and doing a branding audit, doing pricing strategy, looking at the team and the operations and
You help with processes.
yeah, I was going to
Like
say, and mapping out
yeah.
the whole design process and like the onboarding experience and all that. So that's going to be like a longer engagement, but I help with all of those things on a one-off basis. So a lot of my clients will book a session with me once a quarter, once a year, and we can really tackle anything from like vision and goals to your pricing strategy to your process or your team. I really think of it as like problem solving and just being really strategic to come up with like actionable items. Every business has challenges. And I think a lot of times we get so like, what should I focus on? And so I want every session to be like, let's look at where you are. Let's solve some problems. Let's create some actionable priorities of like, for the next 3 to 6 months, I want you to just focus on these things. And let's kind of like map out the steps in the most simple way. So that way people know exactly what to focus on. And then oftentimes they come back for the next session.
Will you help them triage? Like, if like everything's a mess, like I don't even
Yeah.
know where to
Yeah, because then I'm going to
start.
say, like, okay, if someone
I don't know what I'm asking for.
Totally. That's actually my favorite stuff, which because I'm like
Okay.
glutton for punishment for sure. But I feel like when someone comes to me and is like, everything's a mess, first off, I'm going to look at like, how much money do we have? Like, is that what we need to fix first? You know, maybe everything is a mess because like the team is all over the place. Let's figure that out. A lot of times it's like, I'm working way too much. So how can I start like triage there would be like, maybe we have a couple clients that we just need to rein in. Like we need to be like, hey, let me make this very clear that our scope is done at X point, and then after that we're billing hourly. And like, you know, maybe that's what we need to do. Or maybe we need to start being like, okay, we're putting people on a wait list. Just because they said they want to start tomorrow doesn't mean we start tomorrow, right? You're going to tell them that we start in 4 weeks. This is what we're going to do. You know, so it kind of depends on the client. But yes, I think most of the time when someone's like, I'm a mess, like a lot of times it's actually just a few small, simple things that we can do quickly that will just give you that space and the distance to begin to like tackle everything else.
Yeah. Okay, so someone could just say, hey, I need to book a
Mhm.
90-minute. I don't know what we need to talk about.
Yep, I've got a pretty
Okay.
in-depth questionnaire. So I ask like everything from what do
Okay.
you charge? What are some of your current challenges? Or what are you planning on investing in this year? Why did you start your business to begin with? So I ask a ton of questions. That way my goal is to come to the session. Like I might ask a few clarifying questions, but like I want to have all the context. So I'm not spending our whole 90 sessions like getting to know you. Like I've usually,
Intake.
I've looked at your
This
website,
is
I've
not a
looked at
meet and
Instagram.
greet.
No, it's
We're
like
working.
yeah, and in fact, I feel like that's kind of how my brain works. I typically jump in and I'm kind of like, "Oh, cute sweater. Okay, so anyway, let's get down to business.
Yeah.
Let's make the most of this time." And
I
yeah,
mean,
I
that's
want
what
that's
I would
literally
want
what
from an
our-
expert. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
literally what our bar session was like. I was like,
yeah, it was like,
"Oh,
"Nice to meet you."
yeah,
Anyway, tell me about everything that's going wrong in your life.
Yeah.
I was
Where's
like
it going?
practically like in tears 5 seconds
I
later.
know, it was like
oh my
15
God.
minutes.
And then why am I not recording this?
And then I was like,
Holy
"Okay, well, I'll see you later," you know.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very me. I feel like I get like super hyper focused and like very intense. So, part of my
But
charm.
also, I think I mean, I'm sure it helps. You're so niched in this business now. There are probably kind of some archetypes for design businesses.
Yes.
Okay.
I read a questionnaire and I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Okay, cool. Like,
Yeah, and
I definitely
then
have that.
personalize it
Yeah.
like down. Okay,
Yeah. I think that's very true.
Amazing.
I'm really excited. Do you want to share with the hotties like what's coming up for you the rest of 2025? Will you be anywhere, or should they spot you
Yeah.
somewhere? Like what's up with that?
Great question. Let's see. Right now, I'm working on a collaboration with my friend Brooke Stoll from Brooke Stoll Consulting and IDCO Studio. We're working on a
Mhm.
couple like business operations products that people can buy through IDCO that can help them with getting a big picture on their financials, their leads, and like design process. So I'm excited about that. That will be rolling out in the next couple weeks. And then I also have I do a lot of master classes where I bring a designer in and we just
Yeah.
kind of like go behind the curtain to show specifics around a topic. So
Yeah.
I've got one coming up a little bit later this year with Julia from Yond Interiors, where we're going to be really
Oh,
deep
awesome.
diving into design presentations. So that's one I'm really excited about, just like how she presents, how she gets the clients on board. I think she does an amazing job of like really selling some interesting ideas and how does she
Yes.
really sell those? And, you know, we had a fun conversation where she was like, everyone thinks I get clients that just say yes to everything. And that's not the case at all. Like, we all deal with difficult clients, right? And
Yes.
she works out of state and in state. So, kind of, how does she do presentations, you know, locally or out of state, and whether it's small or large? So, really excited
I'm
about that.
signing up for that one.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that'll
Like,
be
I
super
love
fun.
her
I've got a
work.
couple other, I'm trying to do a masterclass quarterly. And so that's something I'm really jazzed about. And then, I don't know. I kind of feel like there's always like fun things going around. So
Haven, you usually come back
Haven,
for?
going back to that in September. It's one of my very favorite things. So I
Will
think
we ever catch you at
anytime.
any markets?
Okay, so I went to High Point, I think like a year ago, loved it, would love to go back. Really want to go to Round Top because I've never been there to experience that. So I'm like, that's on my list.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much if anyone invites me anywhere, I'm like game. So I'm like, If you
I'm
wanna
like ready. I mean, I know I don't need to tell you how to pitch yourself. I'm just like,
Please do.
they think there are a lot of panels that would love to have you, or even a
I
couple quick
know.
keynotes or things. And I cannot imagine any showroom that would say no, because you already have everything organized. You know what you're doing. It's just, there's something about being in person that's so engaging, and being able to like see your examples and everything. So I would encourage
And see
anybody
how
who's
tall you are.
I
No one
know.
knows
I'm 6 feet tall for anyone who's wondering.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
always
every-
shocking.
the whole
Yeah.
day at Haven, like, oh my God, I know you're so
Yeah.
tall.
I know,
'cause we
it's
see
like-
you on Zoom.
I know, I'm always like,
But-
yes, I know.
I think
I'm
they
aware.
shouldn't miss, any hottie should not miss a chance to see and learn from the wealth of knowledge. And I really appreciate
Yeah.
how open and transparent you are with it. I think it just goes to show that like you, a lot like us, have this mission of just, we want to be helpful to
Yes.
our community. We want to connect people and find resources. And you've been a really amazing resource for
Well,
designers.
thank
So thank
you.
you for doing that.
Same to you guys. I've followed you guys for a long time. I'm like, this has been on my list of things I would be honored to do. So I'm really appreciative to be here. And I just so excited to get to know you guys a little bit better. So thank you so much for letting me join in on the conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Renee. And we'll put links to everything so they can find you and Tandem and find you all in our show notes.
Yeah, because I know people are going to want to book at least 90
Perfect.
minutes with you. So
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay.
And until next time.
stay hot, designers.
Thanks for listening to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
For more on what we talked about today, check out the show notes.
Your support helps us grow, so share with your design besties.
And subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
Our conversations continue on Instagram.
And be sure to download our monthly resources on our website and our Patreon.